Okay, Super Easy here, back with Tales from the Darkside. Uh, this next one is called Bigelow's Last Smoke. And I'm gonna be honest with you. Actually, let me play it really quick. Yeah, okay, this is Bigelow's Last Smoke, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I enjoy a good majority of this episode, but then there's like the ending, and the ending kind of ruins it for me. Okay, now it's a prison. His lunch just magically disappeared, and those pack of cigarettes just magically appeared. This has to be some sort of magic room. Who are you fooling, man? There are literally cameras in the room. I'm sure they could see that. I'm also assuming that the smoke detector could trace that cigarette as well. See things just magically disappear.
Developing a little willpower, Mr. Bigelow. You can't do this. It's totally against the law. No, it's not. What's that? Your signature. What did I sign? You contacted our clinic and signed up for our program. I did not. Denial isn't going to get you anywhere, Mr. Bigelow. Wait a minute, wait a minute. You're the people that advertise on television? Do you remember now, Mr. Bigelow? I remember sending in for some information once, but I got very paranoid when my father died of lung cancer. And you thought you'd be next. When'll I be? When?
You know, Bigelow here says like he lost his father to lung cancer. You know, just hearing that, I was just remind me like of my brother-in-law. His father passed away from lung cancer in 2020, and I remember going to my cousin's wedding. My sister was there with her family, and my brother-in-law. And when my sister asked me like, "Hey, where's my husband?" I'm like, when I like walked out. Actually, it's like I think when I went to the bathroom, I looked out the door as I was heading to the bathroom, and I saw him outside, and I'm like, and I think what he was doing is like he was smoking. Like my brother-in-law was smoking. I was like, really? You lost your father to lung cancer in 2020, and you're smoking a. I mean, I myself, I don't smoke. Like my parents didn't smoke. I don't smoke, so I never picked up the habit.
Somebody's there, I hear you. Bigelow. Frank Bigelow. Who are you? My name's Matthews. We used to make your acquaintance. You were on the radio. The one talking about his mother. They made me do that. They gave me a script to read. They bribed me for 3 cigarettes.
Was it always that big? It just magically materialized out of nowhere.
Please put out the cigarette. Once the cigarette has been extinguished, the punishment will cease. Please put out the cigarette. Once the cigarette has been extinguished.
No desires.
Shouldn't you look at the windows or something? Maybe open a door? You know, to check for bars?
Good morning, Mr. Bigelow. Today, we're going to do a little work on your addiction to caffeine.
And that right there is an ending that kind of like makes me like annoyed. Like, really, you're just finding an excuse to keep him there.
Very promising beginning, Mr. Bigelow. Very promising beginning.
Like, how long are they gonna keep him there? Like, okay, he stopped smoking. He he stops drinking coffee. What else are you gonna keep him there for? Because it was like when they said like, oh, we're gonna get rid of your caffeine addiction. It's like, really? You're just finding an excuse to keep him there. And even when I was like watching the episode like multiple times, like the second time or the third time, I was like, yeah, what caffeine addiction does this guy have? I mean, there were some a bit of hints there, but it's like I don't think it's like enough to convince a viewer like, oh yeah, I guess he does have a caffeine addiction. Like, if they added a few more scenes where he was drinking coffee, then it would make more. Then that twist ending would make more sense. Like, something I've did notice when watching this episode this time, like when he was listening to the radio about, uh, the people who like smoke, and he's listening to the radio broadcast. He was there with his lunch, and he poured himself a cup of coffee. Like, okay, there's one instance right there. And when he was caught smoking the second time, and they took away all this stuff, they did leave behind like a coffee pot in the background. It was like, okay, that's another hint right there. But then it just stops. Like, there's not enough times where you see him drink coffee or be associated with coffee. Like, it would be really interesting if there's like the scene where like he talks to the guy on the other side of the wall, and he has a small cup of coffee with him, and he's drinking this coffee while he's talking to this guy on the other side of the wall. Now the thing is, like throughout the episode, you're keeping an eye contact on like him smoking a cigarette, but you know it will never cross your mind like, oh, drinking coffee, like that's not so much. Like I think the only time you do see him drink coffee in this entire episode was both of the times when he gets up in the morning for breakfast, and then that one time where he poured himself a cup of coffee for his lunch. But you don't really see him drink coffee that much in this episode. And I feel like if there were just a few more hints, then that ending about his caffeine addiction would actually make more sense. And not, it doesn't feel like, oh, they're just finding an excuse to keep him there. Because it's like, it didn't cross my mind like the second or third time I watched the episode, but as I was watching this episode, like, I think it is like my fourth or fifth time watching it, I was like, okay, now I do see it. I do see him pour a cup of coffee when he was having his lunch while listening to the radio broadcast, and they did leave behind a coffee pot when they took away the stuff the first time, but I just feel like there should have been more moments where they should have, like, yeah, this guy has a coffee addiction as well as a smoking one. So I'm going to do one more episode after this, and that is Grandma's Last Wish. So if there's anyone watching like the video, please subscribe, and have a nice day. Bye.